Welcome to The Tech Ranch, live and local here on Super Talk 1270. The latest gadgets, online security, websites and apps, social media, and so much more. How can technology help you? Let's find out. It's time for The Tech Ranch on Super Talk 1270.
From our studios in beautiful Mandan, North Dakota, along the mighty Missouri River, here is your guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
And welcome, everybody, to the Tech Ranch. We're broadcasting live from the Gary Thorldson School of Business here in Bismarck, North Dakota. And we're going to be talking to students today about the technologies that they use here at school. Of course, Miss Metaverse Katie Aquino will be joining us a little bit later in the show to continue that discussion. And at the control panel back in Mandan, Mr. Producer Extraordinaire, Jim Walsh. How you doing, Jim?
Hi.
So how's it going today?
Pretty good. Recovered from another long weekend where I caught up on all my sleep from during the week.
That's kind of what you do over the weekend,
Yeah,
isn't it?
pretty much. You know, I'm an old guy. You know, I just I sleep in.
So, of course, we're on Blab today as well. We want to welcome everybody who's joining us there.
I'm looking at myself.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see yourself today, Jim.
Yeah, I better stand up so I can see more of myself. Hello.
But very, very cool. We're hoping that as we get going here, more and more people will be joining us in the room. Sitting next to us, of course, the professor at the University of Mary. I'm already messing up your introduction there, but Dr. Carl Slovak is sitting next to me. Carl, how you doing?
I'm doing really well, thanks, Mother.
So excited to have you here as well, and we're excited to be here in the School of Business here in at University of Mary here in Bismarck, North Dakota. So tell me a little bit about maybe some of the technologies that you're using in the classroom right now.
It's really nice. Thank you very much for being here, because I think it was great when I invited you out. I had no idea that we could do this from the from the lobby, and I think that we scared some students off because when they see television screens going up and things, then they get a little bit scared. But I think when it comes to technology, I'm really looking towards the students to be able to help us with a lot of things that they use. Apps are so huge out here, and some of the things that they get themselves involved in kind of bring some enlightenment to me as to what exists out there. And in fact, Blab was just introduced to me this morning by you. So that's the kind of new and exciting stuff. Of course, they're involved with Snapchat and those types of technologies. They don't really look at it from a business perspective. So that's really what the class is that we have them involved in, understanding not only the technologies, but what are some of the strategies that we'd use as a business owner for utilizing those technologies.
So what do you see in the classroom right now? And I guess, first of all, do you allow students to have smart devices in the classroom?
Well, allow them to have them and having them are two different things. We don't make use of the smart devices. I know that that's something I'm looking at doing next semester with the class, is just making them utilize the smart devices in a better way. Of course, I know that they're texting. I know that they're snapping while they're in there. They try to do it very cleverly under their desk, and I see them nodding down every once in a while. I know it's not in agreement with what I'm teaching. But we do allow them to utilize their laptops into the classroom. I know that when there's a question that's posed, and if somebody doesn't have the answer or I don't have the answer, we'll just say, "Hey, Google that," and we end up getting the response to that as quickly as possible.
Okay.
So it's necessary to have something like that in the classroom.
So Jim's giving me some phone things there. Jim, are you not hearing us on your side?
No, it sounds fine. I'm just wondering, where was this gentleman 5 years ago when I was an undergraduate and could have really used this information?
Well, we're progressing in that light. But, the students do bring their phones into the classroom. And again, we're just trying to find a better way to make use of that. If there's an app out there that could help them to get the information a little bit quicker or utilize the information in a certain way. My classes are more experiential and project-based, and so I want them to use all the tools at their disposal. I'm not a test and regurgitate the information from a book. I want them to be able to apply. So if they can do it in the classroom, that's great. If they use it outside the classroom, even better.
So what challenges do you see with students using smart devices in the classroom? I mean, have you run across things like in testing or whatever that you have to be a little careful with?
Well, I don't do any of the testing. As I said, mine are more project-based.
Okay.
The challenges that I see is that they don't have the critical thinking skills. Google has the answer, and so therefore all I have to do is look it up, and Google tells me what it is. I don't have to put any thought to it, or I don't even have to have an argument against it, because if it's on the first page of Google, then it must be great, right? And so I think that's the limitation that we've seen, is the critical thought of that goes through. I think that it doesn't open up for a lot of discussions. Again, if somebody comes up with a definitive answer, then somebody's not as likely to raise their hand in defiance of that answer or to question that answer. I always tell my students, make sure you're questioning the question, just simply to make sure, where did that come from? What's the definitive source that you're using, and how definitive is it? Because we know that there's tons of stuff out there with the number of websites that you have, the number of people blogging things. You could ask anything about the Paris attacks, and boom, there it would be. You could ask, what's our stance in Syria, and you get 10 different opinions. And so, which one is right? Well, that's what we want to do, is open up a dialogue to, what is the right answer? How do we get to the right answer? And a lot of that is just a search in the questions.
Right. So Jim, since you are a student right now,
yes.
Well, are you using anything on your phone as far as apps go to help you in your student experience?
Well, we have this app called Canvas, which I'm using. I'm a graduate student at Mary in the business department. I'm working with Raquel Jessen right now on my paper,
okay.
Which I'll make the presentation in a couple of weeks. And all through grad school, we've been using this app called Canvas, which is basically the portal, I guess, by which we access all the information about our classes, assignments, resources, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, Canvas is our learning management system.
Right.
So it's very very user friendly. Both from the instructor standpoint and the students. It's very easy to access, and I'm glad that we went to it. We used to have our own internal, and that wasn't as well received, but I think Canvas has been very well received by our students.
Yeah, I don't have it.
Wonderful.
I don't have it yet on my iPhone. I do have it on my pad and on my desktop at home. I do need to. There are still some issues with using it on an iPhone, as I found out with my previous iPhone. Hopefully with the new one, maybe those issues won't be there.
Sure. So is there anything else, Jim, that you're using maybe that you like to use, outside of the classroom?
Canvas is the big one. Outside of the classroom, you mean outside of school, other than my schoolwork?
Well, what you would use maybe for taking notes or anything along those lines?
Well, I'm kind of old hat there. I'm kind of pre-McLuhanite, if you will. I still believe in the old system of actually taking a pen and physically writing down notes in a spiral notebook. And then there just seems to be, I've tried it with the pads and taking the dictation. I just don't get the connection, the mental connection. It doesn't stick in my mind for some reason like it does when I actually write it down. Maybe your guest here could comment on that.
Sure. Go ahead, Carl.
Well, the thing is, and we have a note here from Scott as well asking about it. I think that it's important that we understand that, the best learning that takes place comes from a variety of sources, and I think that that's what we're trying to do, is have the biggest mix that goes into certain things, is making sure that we're utilizing not just the technology, but understanding why they utilize the technology. Part of my class is a tech and strategy, so what's the strategies behind utilizing this? And I think that it's kind of an evolving process, that the educational process is no longer just open up the book and go through things, but to utilize technology in a variety of different ways for the best learning.
Okay. All right, everybody. After the break, we'll continue the discussion with Dr. Slovak. We'll also be bringing in Larry White, president of SYNACTA, and we're going to be talking about the possibility of maybe new curriculum coming to the University of Mary. So come back.
Right now, 32.
Super Talk 1270, home of the Bismarck Bobcats and high school sports. Listen online or anywhere on the Radio Pub app. Super Talk 1270.
And I'm guessing we're back. And I want to thank everybody who listens to us across the country and around the world on the Blueberry Network. It's Tech. It's here on the Tech Podcast Network. We're also on, I'm hoping I just messed things up, on Blab here. Of course, I was just going to say we're also on Blab. Oh, my goodness.
We're good. We're good.
All right. So, anyway, take it away for just a second there, Jim.
Take what away?
Speak. There we go. I think we're okay now.
Okay, I don't see you, Marlo. You disappeared.
Yeah, I just lost everything here.
There you are. I see you through that James Bond bullet hole thing there. Oh, there you are. Okay. Da-na, da-na, da-na.
Well, hopefully I didn't mess up the audio part of it. Hopefully people aren't hearing an echo through the system now. But anyway, welcome back, everybody, to the Tech Ranch. And sitting next to me is the president of the Central North American Trade Corridor Association, Mr. Larry White. Larry, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Marlo. How are you today?
Doing fine as well. Of course, you've been very involved in the trade corridor, and I'm sure people are probably wondering why you're out here at the University of Mary today. And I know that we've had some discussions out here about autonomous vehicles and that type of thing. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about what SUNACTA is and their involvement in vehicle?
Well, SUNACTA is the Central North American Trade Corridor, and it is a group of individuals that have gotten together from Canada, United States, and to Mexico, and we're looking for a corridor to move goods and services north and south along that corridor. We're also talking about some discussion to make it an autonomous corridor out of it, so we could have autonomous vehicles and possibly both on land and in the air within that corridor, that we could have goods moving in that direction, both north and south. We're at the University of Mary. We're looking at possibly this spring. I think we have scheduled to have a conference out here, technology conference, on April 4th and 5th, and we are looking to try to bring in some autonomous vehicles at that time.
Very good. So, and maybe talk a little bit about what an autonomous vehicle is. There might be some people that have no clue what we're even talking about there.
Autonomous vehicle is a vehicle that can navigate itself down the roadway with technology of both. Might be satellite controlled, or it might be maybe ground controlled through some paint stripes or whatever on the road. We're looking at trying to make it so we can have autonomous vehicles maybe behind a driver that might have 5 or 6 trucks behind him that actually have no cabs and just flatbeds that he is taking down the road. We're looking at possibly ports along the way where there'd be just distribution points and stuff like that. We're looking to try to help the economic development of the region and these small towns to have a more connected logistics systems, both going north and south.
Okay, so basically, when we're talking autonomous vehicles, whether they're driving themselves or it's maybe an assisted driving situation, one of the things, there's a couple things that actually come to mind. First of all, they're more efficient and they're safer. I mean, that's the two big things here. So in the trucking industry, of course, when you're talking about having one person drive a truck and then having 3 or 4 follow, and or having semi-autonomous right now, where when they get to a cruising speed of 55 or 65 miles an hour, they can take their hands off the wheel and do other things. The vehicles react much quicker. They can see deer in the distance that you can't see. They have better senses to see at night. There's just all kinds of wonderful things that happen when you can put the vehicle into autonomous mode.
Yeah, they have the Insurance Institute has come to the conclusion that it would save billions of dollars to have autonomous vehicles. So I think with that as a backup and the safety factor that would happen in the future, I think that the technology is certainly further than most of us realize, and that it will be here quicker than most of us anticipate.
Well, in fact, the technology, of course, is substantially farther along than most people realize. I've actually been in 5 different autonomous vehicles to date and driven willy-nilly through some towns, whatever. So it is certainly, the technology is there and advancing rapidly, and hopefully in the next few years we'll have this available to us as well. Personally, I can't wait to have one. I don't know about you.
Me too. I think it's going to be fantastic, just from the standpoint as just think about my mother and whoever, when they get in their 80s and 90s and can no longer drive, well, they could get in the car and just dial up a address and it'll take you there.
Yep.
I mean, things like that. It gives them that freedom to drive for a lot longer than most, and the freedom to still navigate around the town without having to call someone.
Right, and
like
of course, at that age, everybody's concerned about safety as well. I mean, that you take that whole scenario out of that picture by having an autonomous vehicle.
Correct.
So very cool. So how do you see this impacting our region now? You know, if the autonomous friendly corridor were to happen, do you see financial gains in the area? Do you see additional business booming up? I mean, what do you see with that?
Well, I think what happens, Marlo, is that as we have a aging over-the-road driver population out there and the young population that doesn't want to drive it, I think possibly we could have a guy that one person will handle 5 or 6 of them, and we'll fill the void with those kind of technologies. I think with that, we can move the product cheaper down the road, and I think we can be more competitive from a very landlocked area in North America and North Dakota, because we are so far from all the ports.
Sure.
So I think the value for us is to try to economically to move goods and services up and down the corridor as cheap as we can.
Okay. And just had a question come in from Mr. Scott Wild on Blab. Curious about how they handle adverse roads. Do you want to handle that, or you
well,
want me
go
to
ahead,
handle it?
Marlon.
Okay.
But that's what we would like to invite the autonomous vehicle up here to test this winter. We would like to put them on the winter road when it's icy and snow covered. So we'll see if the technologies they have now will be in as safe a mode in the middle of a snowstorm as it was, or maybe better than actually the driver itself. Maybe some magnetic paint or whatever they use to guide it on the road, or just the present technology they have might be enough to be safer than actually being behind the wheel and control of it.
Well, I think, first of all, if the car can't handle it, it's going to tell you so, and that's when you take over control of the car. It's no different than disabling cruise control. When you're driving down the road, you tap the brake or grab the steering wheel, and it disables the, autonomous enhancement that you have, so to speak. But with that said, I see the combination of the two. When the vehicle is really thinking it's maybe not safe enough for it to drive autonomously and that you should be behind the control of the wheel, it still has the sensor bed in place. So if you can't see, 2 feet in front of the vehicle because of a blinding snowstorm, the vehicle probably still can see that there's a semi or a vehicle stopped in the middle of the road a quarter mile in front of you that you would just slam into if you didn't have that sensor bed. So those are the things. I see a combination of the two in bad weather type of conditions, so which will still improve the safety of us being on the road. Of course, in order to have that happen, you're still going to have a driver's license and that type of thing. But I do see in the future, getting away from the trucking side a little bit, that there might come a day where you might have an autonomous vehicle that will cart you around, and you may not even have to have a driver's license for that. So, but that's a few years in the future, of course. Yeah. So, so that's kind of how it handles the bad side. Jim, any questions for Larry at all?
Yeah, I was just curious, Mr. White, about the political scene, if there's been a lot of political backlash against your proposal, especially with the rise of the Trump faction in the Republican Party with their populist leanings. They seem to be opposed to the kind of thing you're talking about.
Well, I haven't heard much on the backlash of it as far as our organization on it. But I think the North Dakota legislature last year stood on the ground that actually there was some legislation to kind of help push on to having $5 million worth of insurance and things like that, where actually you did not have to have all that liability insurance and that kind of stuff according to the Department of Transportation. So that's why we're very happy with the final decision there and backed away from the bill, because we actually didn't need to initiate any further legislation because it wasn't needed. It wasn't against the law to have it already.
So Larry, do you think that we'll have some financial gain in the area as well if the autonomous friendly corridor were to start moving forward?
Oh, I think there'd be a lot of financial gain here just from the ports that could be built, the distribution ports. Also, there would be more traffic up and down the corridor instead of going east and west. I think that a lot more would be going north and south as far as moving, logistically moving goods. And also, I think the biggest thing is the small communities would have a very advantageous time in here that they could compete with anybody in the of the larger communities.
All right, Larry, appreciate that. After the break, everybody, Dr. Slovak will be back, and we'll be talking a little bit about maybe how the University of Mary will be part of this process, as well as Miss Metaverse, Katie Aquino, to join us. So come on back.
Right now, 32.
News and Views with Joel Heitkamp. Weekdays on Super Talk 1270.
We're back to the Tech Ranch. Stream this program now at supertalk1270.com. Here is your guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
And we are broadcasting live from the University of Mary in the business school, the Gary Thoroldson Business School. Joining next to me here, Dr. Slovak, professor at University of Mary. And, of course, joining us from the New York area, Miss Metaverse, Katie Aquino. Katie, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Marla. How you doing?
Doing fine as well. Welcome to the show. Of course, we're live on Blab as well, so anybody who wants to join us in there can do that, blab.im. They can watch the show as we're broadcasting from 3 locations today, which is a very, very cool deal. So we've been talking a little bit, Katie, about the uses of technology with students. We just finished up with Larry White visiting with the president of SNACTA, the Central North American Trade Corridor Association, about autonomous vehicles. And we'll kind of start from there, Carl. So tell me a little bit about maybe what you're thinking the University of Mary will be getting involved with as far as autonomous vehicles go.
Well, right now, the thing that we want to do is we want to have a play in the field. You know, we have drones in Grand Forks, and we say, hey, let the East have those drones. But I think the autonomous corridor goes very well with what we're doing here at the University of Mary, simply because we're looking for that niche opportunity for us. And I think autonomous vehicles would be one of those great things. So we have our students that are being a part of what's going on with the summit, putting together the conference and things. And then we look to get them involved. They're involved in our meetings that we have, board meetings that we have. We just had a planning session on last Saturday. So getting the students involved, because that's really going to be the generation that's going to drive this a little bit forward. Having them involved in any type of lobbying activities or anything that might have to go through the legislative matters. I think there's a variety of opportunities that our students can see. And then who knows what type of curriculum that could lead to later on, that once we get that here, I would love to see Monsignor driving around in an autonomous vehicle as our best proponent for what we're trying to do.
Sure. So, Katie, what kind of curriculum do you see maybe as a possibility in our university system?
Well, I think that STEM technology, STEM or STEAM technology, has been kind of crossing over. It seems to be kind of a gateway between high school students and also college students. So I think that what we're seeing is a lot of technology infiltrating a lot of these college curriculums. Even, it doesn't matter anymore whether you're studying for a master's in arts or if you're just an undeclared major. There's technology for all majors now. Technology is everywhere. So I think that it would be really great to have autonomous vehicles. I think that we'll be seeing a lot of emerging technologies being in these college classes.
So do you see autonomous vehicles playing a part in some type of curriculum that universities will offer sometime in the future?
I think so. Well, one of the biggest things that people talk about when it comes to the near future emerging technologies is the worries of technological unemployment. And what a lot of people don't understand is, all right, sure, we're going to be losing some jobs, but we're gaining new jobs. Jobs just change. It's just evolving. So what I think is very important is for colleges and students of all backgrounds and of all career goals to get into 21st century workforce skills and discover how these type of technological jobs can help them in the future, whether it be coding or hacking or even using social media there's a lot of different ways to get into emerging technologies and find your career path through that.
In other words, if you're a buggy whip salesman concerned about losing your job, you want to educate yourself about the possibilities of that newfangled horseless carriage coming down the road.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Carl, can you address that a little bit more? Technology unemployment, and how does that impact the university here?
Well, I think Katie said it best, is that, yes, I think that technology as a disruptor is going to eliminate certain jobs, but then the technology picks up and provides additional jobs. There isn't anything, for instance, if you take a look at the vocations, there isn't much that a robot can do in terms of wiring a house and things like that. You still need an individual to wire and plumb a house. I think that you'll see the same things in the intellectual side of things. You're still going to need these individuals, as we talked about, programmers and coders and this type of thing. But even in our engineering programs, design, the intellectual design that goes into certain things is a human element. I mean, we can program and tell a robot, hey, this is what we want to do, or tell a computer this is what we want to do, but there still has to be something there that dictates that's the aesthetics that we were looking for. That's the ambiance we were looking for. And I think that that's going to take that human touch that we have. So from our engineering program that we have now, we just started that engineering program, from the design and development, this is going to be a huge thing for us to have out here, because then they can start creating the highways that are necessary, or even the type of signage or type of technology that would be needed to make sure that that's operated in an efficient manner.
So, Jim just alluded to the buggy whip salesperson, for example. I don't think anybody could make the argument that we're not better off because we have horseless carriages now, and I think we have more jobs because of that. And when we move over from one technology to another, it always seems to me that, we might lose some jobs on this side. It's disruptive, but we always seem to gain more on the other side. What's your perspective on that?
Well, absolutely. I mean, and we can take a look at it. Larry talks about the autonomous vehicles on the trucking industry. We actually see that would have a huge, significant impact in a positive way on the trucking industry in terms of safety, the shortage that exists right now in the trucking industry. And we had this in our class when you asked how many of our students wanted to be truck drivers, and not a hand went up. That's not a vocation that many people choose. And so, we can see that is that it can work in our favor, and we can have those individuals who have the expertise that can then provide for those additional type of opportunities that exist. And I'm one of the big believers that everything creates an opportunity.
So, Katie, you going to become a truck driver?
No.
But would you possibly work on technology with the trucking industry if they were autonomous vehicles?
Absolutely. I mean, it's not my jam, just that whole field, but I do find a lot of things interesting about it. I mean, even when I was there in North Dakota and I did my keynote at the CNATCA, I did speak about the autonomous vehicles and how the trucking industry will be affected by them, and I do think that there will be a lot of change. And what's cooler than a self-driving truck? Come on, it's like Optimus Prime.
Yeah. That's very cool.
And, Marlo, Scott makes a great point here, is that it opens up, we used to talk about the digital divide, and the more people that are involved in this digital disruption force, and the more people that we have involved with smartphones and things like that, that's opening them up to an entire new world that they probably wouldn't have had that opportunity before this. So this digital divide is no longer there. I mean, that's what was talking with my generation, and I look at the technology that I utilize on a daily basis. I probably use more technology than some of my students at my age, and it's going to be an older generation that when I'm in my 70s, I'm probably going to be still well versed on those new technologies. Yep. Whereas my dad in his 80s wants nothing to do with it. So I think that it's going to open us up in that area as well.
And the question, everybody who's listening over the air, the question from Scott Wild was, doesn't this open your workforce to the world, no longer limited by geographical location? So, we have people asking questions online, so don't feel like you're not in the conversation here. We're just answering questions as they come across on the online side. So Katie, where do you see the autonomous vehicle industry, let's say 5 years from now?
I think it's going to be booming. It's just starting right now. Everything's just on that little cusp, and I think through a lot of the legislation will start to be worked out, let's just say, and I think that'll be helping to speed things along. Just like as when drones first came out, there was some issues with it. We didn't really know where drones were kind of headed to, and now we have kind of a better feel for it, but also at the same time, the whole drone industry is just booming like crazy. So I think that we're going to see a lot more cars competing to make themselves fully autonomous. We are going to have our first semi-autonomous cars coming out right now within the next couple of years. And it'll be slowly getting there until we will be fully autonomous, hopefully within the next 5 years.
So are you a person that will, embrace this, or are you one of those that really like to drive your vehicle?
Oh, I am all about it. I cannot wait until I have an autonomous car. I hate driving. Here in Long Island, New York, the traffic is crazy. I'm sure it's, just as bad anywhere else in the world. We all have traffic, right? Maybe not all of us as bad, but I know that for me, it's just super, super, just a waste of time. I'd rather be answering my social media, my tweets. I'll be doing my emails. I'd rather be turning my car into my office.
So Jim, what about you? How do you feel about taking an autonomous vehicle out for a road test?
I have mixed feelings about it because I do like to drive sometimes. I like the idea of going on a road trip. On the other hand, I can relate to what Katie says, having lived in the Long Island area and in the suburbs of several large cities around the country. I know how bad traffic can be at a given time of week, given time of day. I like the option of driving, but I also, I like to have the best of both possible worlds. I want my cake, and I want to eat it too.
Me too.
Well, Carl just sent me a 4-day-old brownie that he didn't tell me was 4 days old.
Send them over.
For the show. So, yeah.
Still good.
Yeah, it was.
I'll eat them too.
Just kidding. So, yeah, that's right. Carl, how about your take? I mean, are you one of those you think that when they become available, you're going to grab one, or what?
I would, because I have grandchildren in Minneapolis, and that 6.5 hour drive, there's a lot of things I could be doing, and my wife won't let me be on my phone answering my social media, which I understand. But the fact of the matter is there's a lot of different things that I could be doing while I'm on that 6.5 hour drive, and 6.5 hours back. That's a lot of wasted time, and I would really love to be doing it. And Marlo, you've mentioned too the vehicle-to-vehicle that we already have. So the semi-autonomous that Katie was talking to, we already have that. They detect things. They park our cars for us. I think that once people got used to that, they would say, hey, this is pretty good. We see it in Europe. People hop on a train. They go for 2 hours. They're able to do their work. Then they get to where they want to be, and they come back. So to me, it's no different if I'm in a car or in a train or whatever it might be, a plane, whatever it is. I'm able to do things while I'm in transport. So
do you see the day coming where, when you're heading off to Minneapolis from here, like you said, it's 6.5 hours from here, that you'd leave at 10 o'clock at night and put it in autonomous mode and go to sleep in the back, and when you wake up in the morning, you're there?
I'm not saying I'd do that yet, but I wouldn't mind doing it during the day and when I know that there's safe conditions and things like that. But I think that there'll come a day when everything will show that it's very safe. And we don't have to worry about those things. And then I will. I'll throw myself in the back seat and let it go.
I don't know. I think I would actually start driving more if I could actually sleep at night and let the part take you there. So, all right, everybody, after the break, we'll continue our conversation on autonomous vehicles, and we're coming to you live from the University of Mary.
Right now, 37.
Bobcat hockey action with Paul Tebow and The Call on Super Talk 1270.
Follow the Guru of Geek everywhere he goes. Post your comments or questions at thetechranch.com. Once again, your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson.
Welcome back, everybody. We are broadcasting live from the University of Mary. Sitting next to me is almost a graduate from the University of Mary. He's a senior this year, Mr. Joe Berger. Joe, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's a lovely day. It's November and there's no snow on the ground, so I'm super happy.
So you were part of Bike to Believe. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
So Bike to Believe, it was a fundraiser that we did for the Bismarck Cancer Center Foundation and the American Cancer Society. And we bicycled through 10 states from North Dakota, Bismarck, North Dakota, down to St. Petersburg, Florida. And we stopped at cancer centers along the way, and cancer hospitals and cancer support groups, so that we could interact with people who are battling cancer, get to know their stories, and just be there for moral support, tell them that they can keep going. And it's crazy because they kind of did that for us. We didn't expect it, but they were the ones who motivated us and made us really positive about life and living it to the fullest.
That's a pretty cool story, actually. So how long were you biking for?
It took us about a month in 7-10 days.
Okay.
So about, yeah.
Well, you're on a tech show here, so I'm going to have to ask you, what kind of technology did you use when you were actually on the road like that?
So the technology we used, obviously we were on our phones a lot because we did a lot with social media. We were constantly tweeting. We were on Facebook all the time. Whether it was posting, pictures of us with people at the cancer centers or just where we were during the day, we'd always do videos, update videos. That's what people really like those more than pictures even. And obviously we'd give out shout-outs to our sponsors. And, Maps. Google Maps was a big thing. So that kind of helped us out a lot.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
So did you use anything to kind of track your trek, so to speak?
Yeah, we actually came up with our exact bicycle route in December, and then my cousin and I, who did the trip with me, he was one of 3 guys. We drove it over my spring break so that we could, correct anything that we needed to change. So we had an atlas, and then during the day we'd go day by day, and sometimes we'd have to make changes on the fly. And Google, obviously our phone, Google Maps really helped with that. So that was it. Kind of runs the battery down, but I had a portable charger.
Sure.
Yeah.
Very cool. Katie, do you have any questions for Joe?
Well, what was I'm just curious, what social media platform did you find to be the most helpful for getting the attention out there or for, connecting with people?
Definitely Facebook. We did a few crazy things that brought some attention to our page. Like, for instance, we sang Take Me Out to the Ball Game with Joe Mauer of the Minnesota Twins. And that was one of the things. We had a Bike to Bleed promotional videos, and Facebook definitely got us the most. We had the most reach with the Facebook post, whether it be a video, picture, or regular status. But we tried to incorporate pictures and videos because people just respond to those so much better. They're more apt to like it or share it, and yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Did you blog along the way as well?
We blogged in the forum. We found out, like Facebook, for instance. I'm going to go back to Facebook. The video updates, that was kind of a blog in its own way, and people really liked to see what we were doing as well. So we blogged for 3 days, and then we just said, no, people are responding much more to our Facebook and our tweets.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Well, I know you have to get to class. I really appreciate you stopping in like this. But
of course.
Good luck to you the rest of the year.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And I guess we'll get Carlo back into your seat there.
Okay.
Katie, what do you? I see that we've had some people talking about autonomous bikes. What do you think of that idea?
I'm all for it. I remember when the e-bikes first came out, what was it, like back in the 90s? And we're like, wow, electronic bikes? Well, electric bikes, how cool. And they're still around now, but yeah, autonomous bikes, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I hope so.
It'll be interesting to see. I don't know how that would work, actually. I mean, pretty much you have to drive them anyway, so, yeah. But you never know. Somebody will come up with something cool, I guess.
Yeah, they'd probably be more like a motorcycle or something more, like a crossover.
Yep. Yeah, I see that. So, anyway, Carl, Dr. Slovak is back in the hot seat, so to speak, and, we're getting close to the end of the show here. So, what can people do? I know that you guys are looking at, what type of curriculum that you can maybe move forward with autonomous vehicles. Is there a process maybe that people can visit with you about, or Dean John Warford, or anybody to maybe start making that happen?
Yeah, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. I know that there's things out there right now. University of Michigan is working on this. There's University of Nevada, Reno. There's a lot of people that are working on corridor aspects and autonomous vehicle aspects. So like I said, we're not looking to try and create something new. We're looking to say what's the best practices out there, and we want to bring that into our curriculum. Again, certainly with your engineering program, there would be something that would have to do with the autonomous vehicles, so we'd be looking at and incorporating that. So, yeah, if anybody has an idea of what they would like to see in terms of a course, you can develop a course just about on anything. So we'd be open to that. As a private school, we have the luxury of not having to go through a lot of the other hoops that other places have to go through.
Okay, great. So, yeah, if anybody has any ideas out there, if you're thinking about getting into the autonomous world itself, certainly visit University of Mary and they may actually develop a course around that. So, Katie, what do you see for courses maybe in a university system when it comes to autonomous vehicles?
Well, I think there's a lot of different things. One could be just because cars, even though they're autonomous, they're still going to need servicing. So I know we spoke about this on another episode, but I think that a lot of augmented and virtual reality could be a part of it, both in the design and also the service kind of education as well. And I also think that there's so many different technologies involved with this autonomous technology, from LiDAR to sensors and everything like that. I mean, that is going to be courses in itself, I think. So learning how to put together this technology, how to work with it, how does it work on all different kinds of levels, I think, and also inspiring students to think outside the box, make it better, build it better. I think there's a lot of different ways that this could be in the future.
Very cool. And it's, for those of you there's a lot of noise in the background right now. Of course, we are at the University of Mary, and just letting you know, a lot of buzz in the campus here, so that's what you're hearing in the background. Scott Wild just heard Jaron Landmeer speak on virtual reality. So, yeah, and that's a great thing Scott just brought up. Where do you see the marriage of virtual reality and autonomous vehicles playing, or at least like Google Glass and autonomous vehicles? Do you see some marriage there, Katie?
Absolutely. I think that we are going to be seeing a convergence of a lot of different technologies, also smart glass, too. I was very excited to hear about smart glass. Did you hear about the latest advances in it?
No.
So there's a student, I do not remember his name offhand. I will write about it on my website, which is futuristmm.com. And this new kind of smart glass is going to cut down on 90% of the battery usage that is used today. And that's going to be a huge part. They said that this type of smart glass is going to allow us to use all kinds of devices significantly longer. Imagine only using your phone and only having to power it up once for a whole week. I think that's awesome.
All right. What do you see, Carl, with maybe the convergence of like Google Glass and autonomous vehicles or drones or whatever?
Well, when you watch things and you see those individuals like using Surface to kind of, earmark, I just watched the first Hunger Games, kind of getting myself psyched up to watch the last one.
Okay.
But seeing how they manipulate certain things and then they push it out onto the screen, I honestly see classrooms like that not too far in the future. And then in terms of utilizing Google Glass, I mean, you could actually utilize that with, I could be wearing glasses right now and project certain things and display certain things and not have to hold anything up, a smartphone up or a camera up or whatever. That could be a huge advantage to somebody utilizing that in a classroom setting to extract some type of knowledge from other individuals. And then of course the more people that have them, then that could be a lot more interacting. Like we have 4 people up on here and we can all interact with each other. You can have multiple people interacting with multiple people in different locations, and that's where I see the future going.
Okay.
In terms of autonomous vehicles, I'm not quite sure. I'm not well versed on that kind of stuff still, but it'd be interesting. I mean, I'm sure that.
Well, I think that there will be some convergence of the technologies. You might be able to see things that you normally wouldn't see. Maybe you'll be able to, what I see like with drones is you can actually control the drone with your smart glass.
Sure.
You can move your head around or whatever and control it that way. So, all right, Katie, we're down to the last minute. Any last thoughts?
Yes, the future is awesome. And besides that, I'm excited. I think that we need to really advocate for students to get involved with 21st century workforce skills. It was so nice meeting you, Carol. I really believe in you, and I hope that this education keeps on inspiring all of our students.
All right, thanks, Katie. Dr. Slovak, any last thoughts?
No, it's great. Great to be a part of this, and I want you back out here as many times as you can.
It's been a blast, everybody. Again, we're at the University of Mary in the Gary Thorlton Business School. And we'll do this from time to time. I think we'll work on maybe getting a few more students involved with us as well. Jim, any final thoughts?
Thanks again. Always a pleasure.
All right, everybody. Until next week, see ya.
See ya.